Hey gents, today I am here with Christian from Theo and Harris, and I wanted to ask a question about authorized dealers. We're in a world where every brand wants to go to direct to consumer, and in a world where Rolex doesn't own any boutiques, what is the future of an authorized dealer? Given that someone like Omega owns their boutiques, you can buy directly from their website, but Rolex seems to be the stalwart. You know, you can't get display casebacks from Rolex. You can't get certain things from them. So the only way to buy watches like 20 years ago was an authorized dealer. Talk a little bit about the structure of an authorized dealer in that context.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going back 20 years, you don't even really have to. I mean, authorized dealers, one, still exists, but 5 years ago, 8 years ago, it was a very different game. It was basically the only way to sell watches, kind of, period. Only recently have companies like Omega and other brands, Vacheron Constantin and others, started to sell watches either direct to consumer or to companies not authorized dealers. Hodinkee released a partnership with brands like Vacheron Constantin. All of a sudden, they sold Vacheron. It's like a really big slap in the face to authorized dealers, and not just for Vacheron, but for other brands as well. It's a changing space. But I definitely do see why Rolex, at least to date, has kept it the way it is, and I could see them continuing this way, maybe forever.
Interesting. So the price model, though, is like the ADs have a relationship with Rolex.
Yep.
They buy it at a certain price from Rolex. They mark it up, and they have strict price guidelines, right? You can't discount it too much, or you'll lose your relationship. And there's value in the relationship that somebody has with an authorized dealer, but then Rolex is kind of missing that link.
But what Rolex does have, guaranteed sales forever, right? I don't need to sell, I don't need to convince an AD to buy my watch. They have to buy it, otherwise they don't have a business anymore. That's a great thing. I mean, Rolex holds AD's manhood, right in their hand and says, "Oh, you don't want to buy? Okay, goodbye."
So Rolex is fine, you're saying, but
Rolex
the ADs, it could be tough going forward to be an AD, especially if you don't carry Rolex. It's like outside of that, That's the only brand that really has that cachet.
Well, it does become a problem for even Rolex in an indirect way, because what Rolex does in forcing their ADs to carry certain watches, right, or certain quantities of watches that sometimes they candidly can't even afford or can't afford on credit. These ADs have to liquidate watches. Right? They just have to. That was the birth of the gray market, which was kind of the first step into changing the way watches were sold. ADs were liquidating parts of their stock off to, still at a profit, or a very, very, very small profit, off to other people just to get that cash back in the business. That caused a problem. Why? Because Rolex's value, let's say a watch is $10,000 suggested retail, you're allowed to discount down to $9,500. Right? But you own the watch at $8, and you're willing to sell it at $82, right? That's undermining the entire pricing structure and the prices of these watches as far as the market can see them. So now companies like Joma Shop can offer that watch that is only technically allowed to be sold for $95 for $87 because they're okay making $500. At scale, that's okay. We're going to sell hundreds of thousands of them or thousands of them, whatever, and make a ton of money, but they're changing the way watches were sold. Now it's changed even further, going direct to consumer, like you were saying.
Right. And then there's dozens of watch brands, hundreds of watch brands that are starting up now, and they're offering, we're luxury, but we're not that price, but they're all doing direct consumer. And $200 million for movement is that case in practice. Yeah,
I mean, direct to consumer is a good model. I mean, a lot of brands are going that way. I think it was, in many ways, birthed because some brands couldn't get into authorized dealerships. They couldn't get picked up by a big box store, so they said, let me just do my own thing. Then they realized, wait, I can actually make more money this way because there is a fatter margin in there for them. There are positives and negatives to all of these means of sale, but it's a rapidly changing space. And that's the crazy part. I don't feel bad for them. If you're an AD, you probably have a fortune already, but it's scary. I mean, the writing's on the wall. That this AD model probably will not be around for that much longer, or it won't be as strong as it once was forever. That's crazy.
Feels a lot like old-timey repair shops. Yeah. It's like car shops that fix cars and do engine repairs and stuff. Yep. It's like as cars get more digitized, it's the same exact thing.
Can't do it.
Yeah, it's like mom and pop shops kind of disappear.
It's over. Yeah. In this situation, the mom and pop shops are worth $400 million. No matter what happens to Rolex. But I see your point. No, I see your point completely. You become irrelevant.
Right.
That's it now. Goodbye. you know. But could you imagine this owning a business, you know, that your clients, the businesses that purchase from you, are contractually obligated to continue. They can't say what they want. Like you said, no, I'm going to give you this, and you now owe me a check. It's unbelievable. Talking about the power of Rolex.
It's quite the business, yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing obviously does not go for other brands. They just don't have the power.
Yeah. And someone like the Swatch Group has the power to say, like, you're also going to carry this other brand. It's like, you're going to carry Rado if you want your Omegas.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's something that I've heard. Rolex isn't the only brand that was doing this, but they're one of the only. I know a friend that owned a dealership that was selling Movados. This is probably 10 or 15 years ago, and the museum watch was like the thing. Everyone wanted a museum. Everyone wanted Movado Museum, Movado Museum, Movado Museum.
It's King Jong-un's thing, right?
Maybe.
Right, the Movado Museum?
Is it? I really don't know.
I think so.
But they would tell him, oh, you want 500 museums? Cool. Here's another 300 ladies' watches. And he's like, but I don't want 500 ladies' watches. Like, no, well, then you don't get your museum. What's so confusing? So, I mean, again, they have some power, man. It's unbelievable.
All right, so buying watches on the internet, that's future. Everything's going on the internet.
Think about it. 10 years ago, or maybe even a little bit more, 12 years ago, did you really think that like a business like mine would have existed? You're buying luxury watches from someone you've never met on the internet, you've never shaken their hand, you can't look into their eyes, you've never even held this $4,000 watch. I'm going to give you my credit card number,
right, and
you're going to check out? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
It's crazy. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about ADs, D2C. That's what I really cover on this channel, is like, this vest is never going to be in a store. It's going to be sold direct to consumer, and that's how people are cutting down costs, making better products, and really developing strong relationships with the brands. Yep. So thank you, Christian. Check out his channel. I actually did a video on his channel as well, talking about Shinola.
Yep.
Looking at, they're another brand. Like, you can walk into their store right now and buy one of their watches.
Directly from Shinola.
Directly from Shinola.
Yeah, we spent like $3,000 in Shinola on a Wednesday in Manhattan.
See how pretty, see how pretty these watches are.
Many better options, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Head on over to Theo and Harris if you love watches, and we will see you soon.